When I'm talking with parents about what it means to shift your mindset from being a behavior coach to being someone who's raising a soul, it sounds good in theory. And then I think really creating that mind shift, people need specific guidance and examples and like, what does that look like? Not just what is the aspirational idea, but what does that look like in real life? So I wanted to offer a few kind of practical, like, this is what it would look like at a micro level during your everyday. One thing is that the parents I work with clinically, I encourage them to spend some time in kind of a neutral observer stance of their child. And that means learning how to observe your child as a researcher, as though you don't know them. You don't have a hypothesis working about who they are and what everything means and what their motivations are, what they're trying to do with every behavior. You just stand back and say, what am I noticing? Now, as a broad question, if you have the courage, I think everything that kind of comes up as you just say to yourself, what am I noticing, can be really curious and interesting. If you need more structure than just what am I noticing, what I would say is, what do you notice your child gets excited about? What do you notice your child tends to be uncomfortable with? What do you notice about your child's emotions, moods, affect? If you ask a question that's open-ended and you listen, what do you notice your child tends to want to talk about to you? When are they quiet? When are they chatty? What would your child say are challenges in their life? These are the kinds of things that run through my own head as a parent. If I think about my child as someone who I simply want to know with no other sort of motivation, right? Taking away all the things that are about, I want this behavior to go away, or I'm worried about preparing them for this thing in life. If I just strip all that away, I give myself the freedom for even just a few days to wonder about them and who they are, a lot of information comes to the surface. And that really helps you to start to orient them as a soul in human form. Children really love actually to dialogue. Even really young children who are pre-verbal, still having that kind of back and forth eye contact where you're doing some of the talking but reacting to them. And then of course, as they get older, children love conversation. And parents ask me a lot, like, what are the questions I can ask to extract information, right? Like, what are some great questions to ask at the end of the day? My child never tells me anything about their school day. How do I ask it so I get information about the school day? And if that is your stance already, there's no good way to say it. Your child will know that you are data mining, interviewing, and that's a lot of pressure, especially at the end of the day, to figure out exactly how to summarize things for you, which is what is the thing you want to know. That's just like a lot of mental labor. The best questions to ask actually are the ones that you're genuinely curious about. That takes, I think, for a lot of parents, also kind of like it's a big mind shift to even say, well, what would I be curious about? Because what we mostly are doing when we're in conversation with our kids is trying to listen enough so that we can help respond to problems. We're not typically present in those conversations. Human to human, I really don't know about you these days. What's your favorite music to listen to? I don't know that. And I love music. So actually, I'm genuinely curious. What are you listening to on those AirPods that you always have in one ear all the time? What are you listening to? With no reason for it. I just am curious. You have to figure out what you're curious about. With young kids, I am very curious all the time about them. When I see a little girl with like 25 bows in her hair, I am always wondering, was that her choice? Was that a parent's choice? Was this joyful and fun? That's my assumption, is that she has a lot of fun with like her accessories. And I kind of want to hear the story, just how she put that all together with, again, no other motivation with what I'm going to do with that information. You have to figure out in your relationships with the kids in your life, like what would be authentic? What do you care about? Sometimes sharing things about yourself before you ask a question, so you can kind of explain to your child the context of the question, can be even more productive than the question itself.